Hey everyone, welcome back to Kubrick Corner with me, Sean Wilson. Been a while since I've done one of these videos, but hopefully we'll be getting back into the swing of things now on my YouTube channel. And there have been a real string of very interesting films out lately, which I will be reviewing in due course. But I want to start today with a movie that automatically puts a big smile on my face, which is Ready Player One. I'm smiling now just thinking about it. So Steven Spielberg's new film, his return to popcorn blockbuster territory, and an adaptation of Ernest Cline's 2011 novel about a treasure hunt that goes on within a virtual reality simulation known as the Oasis. Directed by Steven Spielberg, scripted by Zach Penn and Cline, starring Ty Sheridan, Mark Rylance, Ben Mendelsohn, Olivia Cooke, and Simon Pegg. And I read the book recently, and I thought it was an interesting concept, if rather lacking in dramatic tension. So it's actually quite pleasing to note that both Spielberg and Penn have actually made quite a lot of changes to the book. The basic premise is still the same, which is Ty Sheridan is Wade Watts, who's grown up in this dystopian future environment. There have been all these kinds of environmental catastrophes that have gone on in the background, and subsequently people have retreated inside this simulation known as the Oasis, which basically allows them to become anything and anybody they want, and basically has given them, or has given everyone around the world a second wind. It's a VR experience. And the creator of the program, James Halliday, played by Mark Rylance, has died and has left clues to his fortune hidden within the Oasis. And there then ensues a global hunt for the prize, in which Wade and his fellow gamers ultimately find themselves going up against the villainous IOI Corporation, which is headed up by Nolan Sorrento, played by Ben Mendelsohn, on the brilliantly weaselly, like, villainous form in the manner of Rogue One. And so the basic parameters of the film are the same. And I was a bit worried going in because I thought, much as the idea of the book was interesting, I thought it did struggle to try and reconcile the digital and the real worlds, and I don't think it quite measured that very well. I think what Spielberg does quite brilliantly is he intercuts between the digital and the real worlds very, very well, and consequently what you get, which you didn't necessarily get in the book, is a sense that there is something at stake here, and that what happens in the world of the Oasis has an effect on the real world and vice versa. And the intercutting between those two things, I think, is actually done very, very well. It's also done for humorous effect as well. Clearly, this wouldn't have worked in the book. I mean, film is obviously a visual medium, whereas books obviously take place inside the world of your own head. But the way that Spielberg is able to translate certain what's going on within the Oasis in the context of the real world, that's actually done for very, very funny effect later on in the movie. I think it's easy to underestimate Spielberg's capacity for visual humour, but he does it brilliantly here. And I mean, just as a piece of popcorn entertainment, I mean, the creation of the Oasis itself, which is done via CGI motion capture, is genuinely quite breathtaking. I was a bit worried going into this, based on the trailers for the film, which weren't all that inspiring. I was worried that what this was going to be was just a lazy wallow in nostalgia, and it was going to be a case of, all right, there's the Iron Giant, there's Tomb Raider, there's Street Fighter. I was worried it was just going to be that kind of thing. I'm really pleased to report it isn't that. Although this is a film that can be watched, 3, 4, 5 times, and you probably still wouldn't get all the Easter eggs that are studied within the background. Believe me, I was paying very close attention, and I lost track within about 10 minutes in terms of what all the pop culture references that were hidden in the background. That is just really an add-on to the film. The film itself tells a really, really nice, really heartening story, which is about how this digital, how a digital extension of yourself can basically be used to defend and protect what is geek culture, because the film is basically a passionate defense of everything that's geeky and nerdy, and it allows Spielberg to basically riff on the period that he helped define. Spielberg defined the blockbuster tone of the 80s with the likes of E.T. and the Indie trilogy, and it allows him to sort of riff on that, but not in a lazy way. What it allows him to do is it allows him to resurrect the dramatic and emotional stylistics of the movies that were made in that period and have a lot of fun with it. So you have, for example, in the character of Sorrento, what you have is a throwback to the kind of movies that you would get in the 80s, like The Goonies, in which the baddie is a bit of a bumbling fool. And in this, Sorrento claims that he's an expert. He claims that he's well versed in all the pop culture that Halliday was versed in, but he isn't. And that's actually done to sort of dramatic effect. So it's one of those movies like in the 1980s where the younger characters, the sort of so-called underdog heroes, are actually a lot smarter than the baddies that they're up against. So that's really good fun. Again, the creation of the Oasis itself, with, I think the motion capture is actually done very, very well. There is always a risk with motion capture movies that it's going to venture into uncanny valley and you're not actually going to be able to sort of identify with the characters. I think Spielberg gets that out of the way here, because again, I think the visual design of it, that working again with Janusz Kaminski, the cinematographer, to create this really bold, like primary coloured environment in which you can race against King Kong, you can control the Iron Giants, go into battle. It is very imaginative, but it's not lazy. It's not simply a case of, oh right, I'm playing spot the film here. There is a backbone to the story and there is real heart to it, because again, Spielberg has got a frame of reference with all this kind of stuff. Again, as I said, through the likes of the Indiana Jones movies, and he taps back into that sense of blockbuster spirit in a way that he hasn't really done for quite a long time. I was thinking probably the last film that he did in this realm was probably Tintin, not just because that was motion capture, because that was a blockbuster popcorn adventure as well, although I had mixed feelings on Tintin as a film. This is much better. And I think, again, details like Alan Silvestri's score, that's inspired, because Alan Silvestri has become famous for his collaboration with Robert Zemeckis, none more so than Back to the Future, which is one of the defining blockbuster scores ever written. And so getting Silvestri to come back in and to resurrect that sort of really warm-hearted, optimistic music that you used to get in the Amblin movies of the 1980s is really, really great. And indeed, the film explicitly refers to Back to the Future. As you've seen the trailer, the DeLorean actually turns up. So Alan Silvestri is actually able to be really self-referential with his music, whilst also building a score that actually has a personality in its own right. That's one of the many myriad things I loved about the film. I don't think it's a classic, although it's probably too early to call that. I mean, who knows when a film is going to go down as a classic. But I reckon it's got a lot of heart. It put a big smile on my face. Again, it's an intriguing Spielberg movie because purely, again, through the 80s influence, the amount of needle drop song sequences that are in it. It starts with Jump's Van Halen. That's literally the first thing you hear as the opening titles come up. Before you even see anything in the film, Jump comes on. You think, oh, okay, that puts me in the right sort of mindset. And again, it reminds you that Spielberg is a really intuitive filmmaker, not just with visuals but with music as well. And again, this movie is quite intriguing because I can't recall another Spielberg movie other than perhaps Catch Me If You Can, which has needle drop source music in it to this extent. So that's quite unique. So yeah, I don't think it's flawless. I don't necessarily think it's a classic, but I do think it's a hell of a lot of fun. I think it's acted with a lot of charm, and the actors are clearly having a lot of fun. I think Spielberg is quite clearly giddy with the visual possibilities of this story, and I think it is an improvement on the book. So yeah, go and check out Ready Player One, and let me know here at Kubrick Corner what you make of the movie. I'll see you soon.